to the Village Books website, probably in the next couple of days or so, probably tomorrow. So welcome everybody. My name is Claire. I'm the event coordinator at Village Books in Bellingham and Linden, Washington. Before we get started, I do want to ask people to please stay muted for this event unless you are addressing the crowd. That way we don't pick up any of that ambient noise that likes to insert itself into events. I encourage you to keep your screen in speaker view for the event also. We're going to keep the chat open. I want to state that this virtual readings gallery is a safe space. Any user exhibiting offensive or inappropriate behavior will be dismissed from the event immediately. So Village Books is pleased to partner with Whatcom writers and publishers every month for this supper club. We're looking forward to when we can actually sup again together one day, maybe in the fall, who knows. But in the meantime,
have really big pours at Nikki's of wine.
I'm counting on that. And I've never actually been to one of yours, one of your supper clubs in person. But since I've been hosting these, I think I definitely need to crash one of those sometime. I hope that's going to be okay. But I want to
let you free membership.
Free membership?
Yes.
Lifetime membership?
Yeah. Yep, there it is.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, I have witnesses. I have free lifetime membership.
Yes, that's the least that WWP could do for you in Village Books.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I will very much be an interloper because I am not a writer, but I am 100% a reader, so I will be happy to be there. So an event that's coming up actually this Sunday that I really want you all to be aware of is we are partnering with a bunch of bookstores across the country to bring Dr. Jane Goodall and Peter Wolleben. They're going to be in conversation on Sunday, and it's going to be at 10 a.m. And that's because Jane Goodall is going to be tuning in. She's going to be in England, and I believe Peter Wolleben is in Germany. So in order for this to be at reasonable times across multiple time zones, Pacific Northwest gets 10 a.m. So you can have your brunch ready and you can listen to Dr. Jane Goodall and Peter Wolleben talk about his latest book, which is called The Heartbeat of Trees. And we do have autographed copies of that book, early release autographed copies of that book. So while supplies last. So if you go to villagebooks.com, you can find the link to attend that event, and I hope that you will. Okay, so let's get started. This evening, I'm pleased to introduce again, because I got to host her back in the winter, I think, for her event, for her new book, her award-winning book, FoodWISE, A Whole Systems Guide to Sustainable and Delicious Food Choices. Gigi Berardi is a professor at Western Washington University. She's the author of FoodWISE. Again, as I said, award-winning. Her book has been endorsed by over 30 food professionals and food thought leaders, and is hailed by food writer Michael Pollan, which we've probably all heard of, as full of wisdom and listed as one of 19 reads that inspire us and challenge us to be better activists, environmentalists, cooks, policymakers, protectors of the planet, farmers, supporters of pollinators, and advocates for a better food system. So she's doing very, very important work indeed. So please join me in welcoming Gigi Berardi.
Thank you. Claire, that was a wonderful introduction.
A word or two before.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward that I had you, Claire, introduce you, and now I have to do the spiel. So I'm Sean Dwyer. If you don't know me, it's because you probably slept through my intros at previous Whatcom meetings. I am the titular head of this loosely based, well, it's not, actually, it's pretty darn organized for a group that is not incorporated. And so we are, but we are who we are. And we bring speakers every month with the July-August hiatus to talk about craft and business of writing, typically on on a, what do you want to call it? I guess an intermediate level for people who have gotten beyond the basics of trying to figure out how to put sentences together. We're very pleased to have the caliber of speakers that we have been able to attract, and it's exceptionally wonderful to have Gigi tonight. Update on our thinking. I'm still looking at an October return to Nikki's Bella Marina, where you can get ribs or salmon or fish and chips and 9-ounce pours of wine for $5 and ridiculous stuff like that. It's just, oh my God, I miss them so much. And so though, for now, we'll do May and June. Oh yeah, June. One of my grad school colleagues, who is now a professor at a university in New Mexico, is DPM. Uh-oh, Janet, I don't know what that means. DPM? You... Right, yes, got it. Okay, so our June speaker will be an author. She is a highly regarded poet who ventured into fiction and chose ink shares as a possible publication source. And so she's not going to talk about her book. She's going to talk about ink shares, their process for choosing authors, and how one goes about getting selected, as she did, to be published by them. Also, I'm glad Janet brought that to my attention. We are having a picnic, and Janet, do you remember when? Because I don't. It's in Swanage Park, and it's on a Wednesday. On the 26th. All right, so in 2 weeks, we will have at 6 p.m. Swanage Park a meeting, a picnic for all the people, and we will get together and sit several feet apart. We will not bring a 2-meter stick to make sure it's 6 feet, but we know what that is by now. And I'm going to ask if there are announcements. There is an announcement in the audience, so I will turn the floor over momentarily to Peggy Sullivan.
Yes, I have 2 things to tell you about. So I have a new book, another new book. Yay, thank you, COVID.
There it is.
This is another cat book. It's another children's book from a cat's point of view. It's called Shadow Walkers, The Secret Lives of the Shy Sisters. It's fresh off the press. I barely have any copies. I just got mine, but it only takes 5 minutes to read. So guess what? Village Books Open Mic's coming up on May 24th at 7 p.m. and I will be doing a live reading of Shadow Walkers. So it's available, of course, to order from Village Books. And it's also at Hammond's Gallery if you happen to do that one in Barclay Square. And then Blissfully Single, my self-help book, which is a guide for singles for finding happiness, is scheduled for a very special live author event with none other than Sean Dwyer joining me on June 6th at 4 p.m. So I'm really excited about that coming up, and I'm getting ready for it. And also it's at the finalist stage with Chanticleer Reviews. So it's doing well. Thank you.
Rather. Well, thank you, Peggy. You're the first person, I think, ever to say none other than before my name, which I have arrived at something. Not sure. But another. So yes, June 6th, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to partner with you on your reading. And let's see, Susan Greisen also wants to tell us something about what she's up to.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm excited to announce also that my memoir, In Search of Pink Flamingos, is a finalist in the Chanticleer Journey Award. So on June 5th, I'll know where I'm at with that. So that's very exciting. Also, I have been asked by my Peace Corps affiliation group called Friends of Liberia has asked me to be the lead for an anthology project. And we closed submissions for the anthology on April 30th, and we had 95 submissions. So now we're in the process of scoring them and rating them and selecting them. And Lisa Daly and Sidekick Press is going to be our publisher.
Lovely.
So, and we're going to release the book in May of 2022. So we'll keep you posted. It's very exciting.
That is really, that's great. So yeah, June 5th is when all of the Chanticleer announcements will be made. And so Peggy, you'll have some news fresh off the press about that too. And Janet Oakley has.
I don't want to cut into Gigi's presentation, but we have a lot of Chanticleerians here. So the Quisling factor is up for Clue and for Godey. But what I'm really excited about, I'm continuing to be asked by the Sons of Norway Lodge to give talks. So this Saturday, I'm giving a talk to the lodge on Zoom. I'm talking about the resistance in Norway to balance out between a woman who is telling her father's story, which is pretty harrowing, about what happened during the war. Their family was arrested for helping agents coming in from England. And as a result of the arrest, it uncovered a group. And I discovered the group. So I have pictures now and more information about it. So I'm excited. Keep doing Norway.
Yay.
Yay. Now, Elizabeth, do you have copies of your book in Georgian yet? Not yet. I'm waiting for that because I'm going to buy a copy.
It'll come out in English too. Thanks so much for asking, but it's going to be it's going to be a some time before it comes out in English.
Okay.
But thanks for asking.
Can I go to Amazon.Georgian and get a copy of that one now?
I think things are happening a bit differently there. So I don't think you can just get it off Amazon like that.
Well, let me know when there's.
It would be nice.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll let you all know. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the group has stuff to say tonight, that there's exciting things happening. So now I will turn it over to Gigi. Wait, okay. Turn it over to Gigi, and I'm going to have a little snack. So rather than have you watch me chew, I'm going to turn off my camera. But we want Gigi to have the whole your full attention anyway. So I now present to you Gigi Berardi. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations, everybody. Now, I would like to share screen. And I am trying to find, and it's right here. Yay. Share. And alrighty. And so what I thought is I just wanted to kind of to stimulate discussion. And so I have like 10 or 11 slides. And here we go. All right, here we go. And yeah, and so I'm not really so much, I'm going to say maybe a few things about the book towards the end. Just, I'm sure there's a number of you not familiar with it, but I'm so excited to be talking with my fellow and sister writers and publishers, because there were things about this project which were so different. And so it's going to be fun to share them with you. Okay, so so I have a little background on or a little history on this book, and then a little bit on me, but relevant to the book. So I have a lot of years of teaching and mostly in academic writing on food. And I have a strong family food history, which I talk about in the book. But the project really began in 2012, and it was at that time, the title of the book was A Cultivated Life. And I love that title because it was like a double entendre. It was, it's all about my work. It's all about kind of my growth as a person and a professional through food. But no one else liked it. And the focus of my work, which had been made possible by a sabbatical in 2012, 2013, was on fierce food beliefs, and in particular, students' fierce food beliefs, and which I have encountered virtually all my life. Because for one reason, every single class I teach, which is related to food, has an eating component to it, a cooking and an eating component. So student food beliefs always come up, and it's not just students, it's of course everyone. It's almost hard to imagine anything more fierce than people's beliefs about food, what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, what they want to eat, and why they want to eat it. But I couldn't really sell the manuscript to an agent. I had this idea that I wanted to use an agent for some reason. I hadn't used an agent with many of my other projects, and I couldn't do it, even with my connections in the American Society of Journalists and Authors. I couldn't. And one of the things I kept hearing was that there were too many food books, and also memoir at this level was really pretty difficult. So I changed the title and developed an acronym for the book. So that acronym was WISE, and whole, informed, sustainable, and experienced. And Jim, I can't. Okay, and then I was still kind of working away at this, and something happened, which was amazing. I have it right here, Kismet. And what happened was that I was teaching one of my global learning programs in Mexico, and my colleague who I was co-teaching with had just come from had been in San Francisco for a long time. She was an artist, a cellist, and she had a number of contacts in San Francisco. And she said, I've got a really good friend, and she's looking for a food book. And I knew nothing else except that I had just sold that book. And that's what it took. It took a teeny little bit of contact because she got me in touch. She got me, in touch with the acquisitions editor, and they wanted a food book to put on their shelves, some kind of competition for with all those other food books, all those other publishers. And the publisher was North Atlantic Books, an indie publisher. And so I did sign with them, and there were a number of perks with this particular publisher. And I did get a small advance, and they did I don't know, as a writer, I will speak for myself, but an almost unimaginable amount of groundwork, of promotion before the book was edited. I mean, I can remember in March of 2019, and I was giving a seminar in my department, and I had just submitted one first rough draft. I had just come back from a second sabbatical. Actually, I was in Switzerland, and my department chair said, "Did you know your book's on sale at Target for $12?" And I was shocked. This is almost a year before the book is coming out, and also it wasn't supposed to be $12. But anyway, and then I had like my own publicist assigned to me. And again, I don't know about everyone else, but in terms of other things I've written, that's usually doesn't work, or publishers I've worked with usually doesn't happen like that. However, I guess with all of this royalty kind of treatment, I just assumed that they would also take a heavy hand in the editing. And so the first draft that I sent them was really rough. And we had a misunderstanding because they immediately put it in galleys. So they must have read, you know, the first couple of paragraphs, and it was pretty literate, and they put it in galleys, and it was completely not ready. And many of the references were just websites as placeholders. I mean, websites for complete references, but nothing that could be published. And so what that meant was I ended up making in the first draft 2,000, or the first PDF, 2,000 edits. Now, I don't know if you've ever made edits on a PDF for a publisher, but what you have to do is you have to write the sentence that's inaccurate, explain what's inaccurate, and then write the correct edit, even if it's just adding a period. There were 2,000 of those. So 2019, when I had gotten back from Switzerland in March, did not look very pretty for me. And in fact, it still needed several more rounds of edits. So their editing was light, but everything else was very, very nice. But how I wrote this book was during my sabbatical, which is what I wasn't planning on. And I didn't get the contract until August of 2018. Remember, it was in fall of 2017 when I first made contact with the publisher, with North Atlantic Books. And so instead of doing research on esoteric science and Goethean science, I spent my sabbatical in 2019 working on this book. So just a little background on me, and this is background to the idea that I couldn't sell the book. So these are actually my major areas of writing, which is food and also rural development, dance medicine, dance criticism, and now I'm working on some historical fiction. And I had hundreds, well, 400 actually, features and reviews in dance. And I was a journal creator, I don't know what you call that, and editor, and I'm a contributing editor and writer for a national publication. And I had an agent that negotiated a huge advance, and still I couldn't sell this book. And so my point here is that there's nothing like Kismet. There's nothing like that golden moment when, in this case, someone needed a book like this. And when I did, I mentioned the advanced publicity and the publicist. I've had unlimited copies of books, and those of you who write and submit your work for awards, you know how many copies of books you need to submit for those awards. They hired artists to design the book. They hired actors. They said that as per my contract, I'd be choosing the actor reading, the audible version of the book. And then Penguin Random House was the distributor behind all this. They created picture quotes for me. over a dozen picture quotes, which are awesome. They created very easy to use in social media, these picture quotes, and they created banners when I needed a banner for Twitter, and they sent me 1,000 postcards and these pretty little book labels even that I used when I spoke at Book Larder, and then also the event that Claire had mentioned. So it was just so nice. The artist, designed the book. I didn't go. I asked friends to vote, and some of you here voted on the cover, and it wasn't these. What's interesting is that this third one is really Michael Pollan like, and or kind of like faux academic like. There's a lot of white, and this is kind of retro, but anyway, went with a different cover. I did have a number of okay, so done acquisition. I guess I could have like subject categories. That subject category that I just went on and on about is about acquisition. It's about selling your book. Now publicizing it, I did have author generated events, which my publisher put on the Penguin Random House website too, and did a number of things to publicize these. But anyway, just like all of you, we went remote. And this is the event we had at Village Books with our resident chef. That was so much fun. And what's interesting is, I don't know about you, so the subject category here is book-related events in COVID. But for almost all of these events that I had lined up, I did do some remote version, and it was always different. We just went ahead and did our interview at Village Books, for example. But let's see, at Book Larder, I was interviewed. We did an Instagram Live, is what that looked like. In New York City for Book Culture, what we did was we came up with the idea of writing a review of a favorite book. So I did a review of To Kill a Mockingbird, and then talked about some of the themes in it. And then they used that as a vehicle for publicizing the book. So this is author generated events. Aren't we resilient as authors? This is that subject category. And maybe just a little bit about the book. This book is very, very different. And I was able to get all of these endorsements, and from people who hold fierce food beliefs, which are in conflict with each other. So Frances Moore LePay would be our fierce vegan, as opposed to Gary Tobbs, our fierce no carbohydrate. Michael Moss, our fierce no sugar, whatever, sugar, fat, salt, whatever is the order of his book. Carla Petrini is good, clean, fair, but anyway, a serious meat eater. And anyway, so chefs and non-chefs, I had asked Blaine Wetzel if anyone's been following the news to endorse the book, and he was like, yeah, sure, this sounds good. I'm glad he didn't. So he never got around to it. He's the executive chef and co-owner at the Willows. Don't know if you've been following the story the New York Times broke on the false ingredients sourcing at the Willows. Anyway, so but people who are political, people who are apolitical, I mean these endorsers. And but in order to do that, I had to have a well-written book that told stories that was as inclusive as possible. That was my goal. It was exceptionally difficult to write, and it never would have been possible without my family, who actually jumped in and took chapters, including my two 22-year-olds at the time. They were a great audience. And then I had a couple other colleagues looking at it. So it has been recognized in a number of different competitions, but I think what's really interesting is to look at the variety of categories. So in some competitions, it's a cookbook and a specialty cookbook. And others, it's health, which is interesting because I avoid the word health like the plague and I talk about it. This is one of the contributions of the book, to kind of deconstruct this idea of health, which invariably translates into a low-fat diet. Anyway, so I take that apart in the book. Whatever, health, I'll take it. And you know, most special to me, of course, is the investigative reporting kind of awards, which is what I feel that it is about. So the acronym was an important piece to the success of the FoodWISE story and creating these stories. Now the stories are not happy stories. That's another thing. They're not happy stories. It's the story of everything that's wrong about agriculture. I like to say that this book is about all things about food of all times ever, no matter what you're talking about, whatever has been spoken is addressed in this book without it sounding like a wiki article. And it was really tough to tell a charming, well-researched. And the other thing I did was I used so-called blind, so I say hidden references. So I didn't want to weigh the book down with references in text, so they appear at the end. But those 2,000 edits in the PDF completely changed the hidden references, page numbers, for example. It was a nightmare using the hidden references, but it makes it a more readable, populous book doing that, even though it's academic in many ways at heart. The story of fish, which I had to give to my partner. I put the material together and then it just had to be worked into something that was not a devastating, which it is. It's a devastating tale, but anyway, completely devastating. Anyway, a struggle. And so then here's the acronym. So the acronym is Whole Food and Whole Farms, Informed, Sustainable Experience. And you know, information is secondhand experience, but experience, and here I was playing off the ideas of Barry Sharp in Practical Wisdom, that the way we get smart, the way we build dendrites is through experience. And so it's really important to experiment in the kitchen, to experiment in the garden, to experiment at the supermarket, and it makes us really smart shoppers. And then these are the book is divided into 4 parts. The recipes are story recipes. So what am I doing next? So I have an idea for a much shorter book, which I'm going to pitch to North Atlantic Books and credere, which is the Italian or probably Latin too, for to believe. However, I also think like a title like Shout or something would now all about the marketing might help advance the interest in this. It's called the Timbuktu Collective in India, and it's about 30,000 women who started with zero coming to work with limbs chopped off. I mean, unbelievable, unimaginable constraints, and how they are thriving and what it is, what are the themes there. Then I've thought about maybe, especially with caste, all things cast. Now, somehow framing it in terms of telling a story that's kind of safer and I'm more comfortable with, and can claim as a journalist, and that would be a story in India of caste, but drawing lessons for us here in the United States. And I'm writing on assignment right now. I worked on a query letter for the New Yorker yesterday, realizing, of course, that unless you're writing fiction or a poet, or you're a poet, you and want to submit on, submissible, there's no way you can enter into the New Yorker. So anyway, so then I kind of reframed it for the New York Times, and I'm working on it. And it's basically about Blaine Wetzel's fall from grace, about agriculture, about local organics, dirty little secret, which is it's all about exploited labor. Whether it's in your kitchen, whether it's your kids, who won't wash the lettuce, certainly farm labor. That is the nature of food production. It requires a lot of labor. So somehow trying to kind of get into that a little bit more. And then I'm working on historical fiction, but I'm working hard at it, and I am following Elizabeth Gilbert's advice that in order to do this well, you really need to be what she calls consecrated, the bride of writing. And I've thrown out my hundreds of thousands of words that I've written, and I'm rewriting some of that work now. I am grateful to all my writer editor support groups. And I have a tip, and it is from the recent American Society of Journalists and Authors conference. And you may know Estelle Erasmus, maybe she's even been a speaker. She is the bomb in terms of pitches. So she has a number of columns. It's all about the pitch. She does a lot of stuff for ASJA. And I encourage you, if you are pitching fiction and nonfiction, but especially nonfiction, to go to her website. And I thought I would end with this little, I don't know, cherry on the whole wheat cake. And I'm not sure this violates my rule about not showing a video in a video. This usually doesn't go well, but so what this is I raised $3,500 at school, and to do kind of a trailer on FoodWISE. And what I'm going to do is pitch this to radio stations. But anyway, it just got finished today, and there is a few little glitches, but it's just 3 minutes, and I thought I would end with this. So I'm going to try it. If it's not working, just tell me. Hi. Oh, you're still there. How awesome. Anyway, yeah, last few words got cut out. This sound is a little tricky, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know if you got my message in the chat, but we couldn't hear any sound at all.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I
Okay.
think it's because maybe your headphones are plugged in. I'm not sure.
I bet that's right. I bet that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there was a little bit of text. How awesome.
It's a beautiful video.
Yeah. I actually was a little distracted by all the sound that's happening here. I guess we don't understand sound, but anyway, it's okay. It's all good. Okay, let's see. So there's the film, and I just want to, yeah, say thank you. And here's my new website. And I want to give a shout out to Lisa Daly. So I know you know her, right? If anyone doesn't know her, know her. And so she took my academic website, which does look smart, and it has a lot of my different writing, and she just said, no, Gigi, let's just focus on FoodWISE. Anyway, so so she did a great job. And yeah, that's it. That's my presentation. I'm so happy. Would have been fun to have been monitoring chat. How about that? So anyway, I can stop share. And we can take questions. No sound. Oh, yes. Good. Thank you so much for writing. Good on you. I didn't really look. Bad on me.
Whoopsies.
Oh, good. So I can still have a premiere. That's awesome. Wasn't the premiere
Okay.
premiere? Okay, great.
Well, I have a question. So
Yes.
what do you consider sustainable fishing?
Well, virtually nothing in the world today, but it's going to have, it would be fishing within harvest limits. You know, I mean, that based on renewable harvest. And so that's, you know, pretty much not happening. And that's it. It really has to do with the numbers. It has to do with the technology that's being used. You know, here in the Pacific Northwest, it's being watched fairly closely. Of course, it's international. Canada and the United States. And so it's being watched, so that in fact we do have sustainable fishing, but that depends a lot on the life cycle of the salmon, which depends a lot on, in terms of quantity and quality, water flows, and that is really highly contested in Whatcom County and other places. So problematic. But I would say we're hard at it with the salmon.
Well, isn't fish farms, though, are not part of sustainability, correct?
Fish farms are problematic, not hatcheries,
Yeah.
but yes, fish farms are problematic.
Because of disease and all sorts of stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is I reference in the notes that kind of discussion. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Let's see. Other questions. It's really hard. It's hard being an author. It's one thing to write and then edit and rewrite, and it's another thing to promote your book. And don't we know it, that we have Village Books who valiantly assist in that, with these events and highlighting our work in many ways.
Gigi, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
First of all, editing through, on a PDF, I can't even imagine. I am so sorry. And I edited from a copy editor who didn't do track changes. And so I had to do everything by hand. And it's probably not as bad as what you did, but I ended up, my carpal tunnel all came back. It was just horrible. So
sorry.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
But also on your recipes, because I've not seen your book, did you interview people to get these recipes?
So a lot of the recipes were just in my own I mean, in my background. They were from my mother. I've developed them, and a number of them are from my students.
Mm.
And in fact, the students taste tested them. They cook tested them. And so what happened was, when I was still in Switzerland, so in 19, right? By the way, the timeline for this is pretty daunting. I didn't sign a contract until basically September of 2018, when I got on a plane to go to Switzerland. The first draft was in February. We know what happened there, and all the editing. The last draft wasn't submitted till the end of September, and it was published in December. So anyway, it was yeah, sorry about that. But anyway, so what I did was, a friend of mine was teaching, the person who had gotten me in touch with that publisher was teaching my eco-gastronomy class, which had 150 students in it. And she offered them, I paid students $15 to make a recipe and to give me feedback. So they developed a few more recipes, but mostly they tested the ones I already had. And then I paid my son and his partner, and then I paid two good friends, Dan Nestle and Holly Nestle, again to cook the recipes. There were 30, and I chose them because I was able to talk about what's FoodWISE.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to hit Lisa, and I are going to hit a little bit harder on this, like the quintessential FoodWISE, and I think talk about really simple recipe, really simple. How do you make simple and inexpensive and maybe hard to get in COVID, or at least every time there's a major COVID surge, either real or, I mean, either hospitals are full or it's it's information. You know, I think we're working on distilling it.
People don't know that you have cute little sheep out there at your little farm, and that you're making cheese, which I got to help do. Talk about your babies. You just had new lambs, right?
Well, Meg, can I say that I'm recording this from Shaw Island, and we have another Shaw Islander with us also on our call, and that Shaw Islander is the person with the blog, and she has the lambs. The lambs are at the monastery here on Shaw, and I have the mothers. We have the mothers, and I milk the sheep. And morning and night, actually, someone was just milking. You may have heard her for me, and make cheese. I just made 2 wheels of manchego today, and making cheese. Anyone who is a cheese maker kind of waxes eloquent about the otherworldliness of cheese, of making cheese, of transforming this liquid, which is so demonized, milk, into something that is so well respected, so admired, cheese, especially aged cheeses. And I have so many ideas from working with this transformative process. And when you do that, you see, and again, it's coming back to the fierce food beliefs, that milk doesn't want to be milk. I know milk is demonized, but the point is that it's kind of odd to drink the liquid milk. Milk starts to turn unless you pasteurize the hell out of it, and then it doesn't. But then what is the good of that? You still have the sugar, you still have the casein, you still have the lactose, you still, without any or without many of the enzymes that help you digest both of those. I mean, what is the craziness of that? But anyway, and now what I'm finding is I still have a few more wheels, one wheel really of Fontina actually. And now I find out that cheese doesn't want to be cheese. So, I mean, you can't really age cheese. And I know it's kind of a common idea about aged cheeses and how aged is better, but really old is not gold. And I learned that in France, studying affinage and aging in France. Their cheeses are not old. Their cheeses are fresh. Actually, most of their cheeses are fresh. And the kind of old cheddars you get, that's just because it was our very first cheese, industrialized cheese in the United States. And it's a thing. But it's so hard because the microorganisms just want to demolish it completely. So that's what I mean when I say cheese doesn't want to be cheese. What's happened is it turns into, after 8 months of aging or 5 months of aging, it becomes very, very sharp because of all the histamines in it. There's a lot, which is not unhealthy, but it's just really screaming out not to be cheese anymore, but maybe compost. Yes. So let's see, making cheese. And so the milking begins in March and goes into September. So in terms of writing life, puts a little crimp in my writing lifestyle. But I'm very lucky that I had my son. We had our son build a cabin, a writing cabin, and it's very beautiful. It's on a little hill. It's in the woods here with a little wood burning fireplace, and I'm very lucky. It's all windows. I've always wanted all windows. And it has these vistas into woods, but huge different kinds of woods, with varying clearings. And that's where I do my fiction. Not distracted by the internet.
Oh, I think you're making all of us very jealous right now, Gigi.
I'm very lucky.
I want to come to your little windowy
Right?
cabin.
I know. Whatcom, a writers and publishers retreat. Yeah. I think that's probably my main message. It's about luck and how it's about luck, and it's about effort, and it's about that calculation, and what is more important. And I wish on everyone at least once, if not 100 times, to be lucky with their publisher.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Gigi.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening, or if not listening, viewing a video. Yeah.
And I wish I usually have the copy of the book to hold up. But I gave my copy to my daughter because she wants to be a nutritionist and will very possibly be one of your students one day. So
my gosh.
I gave it to her for Christmas. So I guess I have to get another copy.
Yeah, I will look forward to that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, my goodness. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient.
Yeah.
And we managing the sound, either too much or too little. We did it. Yay.
Sean, did you have any final words?
Just that I got to snag this thing so I can live longer. Just wonderful. Thank you very much, Gigi, for coming back and doing this for us after you did Village Books before. We're really thrilled that you could do this for us. And if you're going to be on campus sometime, let's sit down.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, it would be an honor. And it's
yeah.
certainly an honor to be here. Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. So anybody else need to say anything before we send everybody packing?
Well, once the video is up, we can let other people know about it. So you'll get
Absolutely.
more stuff going on. And I'll see you tomorrow on Zoom, Gigi.
Cool.
Yes. Did we decide what time?
All righty.
Okay, we'll
9:30,
be in touch.
9:30, yeah.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good
right.
deal. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next month somehow. There again, Mary December, a poet who got a novel published recently. It's going to be published through Inkshare. We'll be talking in June about that process as another venue you can look at. So.
And don't forget the picnic.
And picnic May 26th, 6 p.m. Let's go party. Bring your wine skin. And we're going to catch fish right out in the bay there, so you don't have to bring food. Just kidding.
There you go.
Yeah. Claire, consider coming.
May 26th.
May
I'm looking at
26th.
my
Wanted.
calendar right now. That's a Wednesday.
Yeah,
So our
Cool.
regular night.
Okay. What time?
6.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
Go forth and write and be inspired.
True that.
We
All
shall.
right. You're going to shut it down,
Bye.
Claire?
I'm shutting her down.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you.